When the enemy tells you that you'll never make it through that problem or circumstance, when he says you're not enough, when he tries to remind you of everything you did wrong or all the failed situations in your life, you gotta snatch that fool by the throat. Remind him who you are and whose you are. Put your foot on his neck. When I say run me my crown, I stand boldly and I look the enemy square in the eye and I tell him to run me everything he stole from me. Everything that God says is mine, run it back. My peace, my joy, love overflowing, wisdom, power, purpose, run it back. 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 Who you are. Run it back. Who you are. Run it back. Who you are. Run it back. Put your foot on his neck. Baby, listen. Sometimes the person I need to tell to run me my crown is me. Sometimes I'm the one that needs to be reminded of who I am. Sometimes I'm the one that needs to be reminded that I'm a child of the Most High King and I was already born fierce, foxy, and fine. I was born worthy. My daddy owns all of this. And it's time I act like it. We all go through, right? But in the spirit of sisterhood, I'm sharing my story transparently so that you don't have to tarry alone. Don't let the enemy make you believe that isolation is of God. He's a whole fool, sis. Healing happens in community, and sisterhood saved my life. My life. My life. My life. My life. My life.
Yes. And good evening. Good evening. It is Dewana Brown, aka Foxy's baby, with another episode of Run Me My Crown Radio. I am so excited to be here. Listen, every day is a gift, but especially every day that I get to be blessed by the presence of one of my sister girls, I get excited. So I'm going to jump right into it. You know, we got my girl here, Chiara, aka Key. We'll just call her Key Noble. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to speak with you tonight because although we just met a few weeks ago, I got an opportunity to hear a bit of your story, of course, and being able to really delve into it tonight. I'm like, baby, listen. And of course, I want to welcome all of our guests who are actually streaming live with us on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, all of you see how beautiful this woman is. Y'all see how she up here just glowing and growing and just the cheese and looking all good, as I like to say. I love it. And so, of course, we know we talk soul secrets and sisterhood here. So we're just going to have a conversation. We're just going to hop right into it. How you feeling, Key?
I'm doing pretty good. I always got a lot of stuff going on. And I don't know, it just seems like when you get over one hurdle, then here comes another 2 or 3 more just to add on top of that. So just trying to stay focused and positive in the midst of everything that is going on around me is just that's how I keep when people ask me how do I keep smiling when they know whatever it is that I'm going through, and I'm just like I just keep pressing. I wake up every morning, I put both feet on the ground. Before I put both feet on the ground, we say our prayers, give all honor, glory, and praise to the Lord, and then we put both our feet on the ground and take it moment by moment, just like everybody else. So I am yet holding on.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because, people often say that to me when they recognize, a lot of the challenges, the hurdles, as you said, that we've, had to overcome. And the reality is like, sis, I'm not that good. It
Right.
really is not me holding me together. Like, y'all do understand that, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to take credit, but the reality is it's all him. If it wasn't for his grace and his mercy, his covering, his hand literally leading and guiding me, him keeping his promises even when I mess up. Because come on here, like I done messed up. But I'm grateful for that because it gives me the opportunity, just to start again.
Yeah.
Even here just recently, like even since I last, saw you like this, I had to look at a particular relationship in my life that was time consuming, it was draining, it was not productive, and it's been time for me to let it go, right? And so I think many of us, we experience that, whether it be a romantic partner, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be a good girlfriend, somebody we've known forever that we just don't want to let go of. And
Mm.
sometimes it's maybe even a family member.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is you can still love that person, but you need to let it go. And so I found myself in a bit of a tug of war because, I'm one of those people with the big heart and I want to love on everybody, but the reality is like, sis, you putting yourself in harm's way, continuing to, to try to save the world. I have to constantly remind myself that my middle name is Geneva, not Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think, that's key when we look at, just how life progresses. And, a lot of times we find ourselves creating the issues ourselves.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of been my revelation here recently, is like girl, you breaking your own heart.
Mm-hmm.
How many times you gonna do that?
Absolutely.
And especially when you heard God say that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
She's not your friend. He's not for real. All those different things. When you hear him, but you
Mm.
don't heed him, then you find yourself heartbroken and you like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And so that has been the hurdle, if you will, that I have found myself facing over the last few weeks, and just getting to a place of, when you hear God, not only hear him but heed him the
Mm.
first time.
Mm-hmm. And you know
So
what? We
I
look.
don't know if you feel me on that, but listen, the
Oh,
first time.
I definitely do. And you know, this is why I'm really liking, this whole platform, because when you first invited me to come on, and I'm just like, okay, now I've really, the book is really just scratching the surface. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And then I thought, well, having a conversation, is much easier than, looking at it as an interview.
Right.
So with that being said, on that note, we weren't even, supposed to really be going there, but I'm gonna go there since you went there, sis.
Listen,
These
I let the
relate
Holy Spirit do what he do.
Listen, let him do what he do. So with these relationships, you listen, speaking from, somebody who is still feeling the sting of a failed friendship.
Mm,
This was not even, a romantic relationship that I'm
right.
talking about. This was a 15-year friendship, and having to just walk away from things that, there's a saying that you should walk away from things that are no longer serving you, but I wasn't really looking at it that way. When we, like you said, we invest so much of our time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears into relationships, and then you wake up one day only to realize that it's one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hurtful, and these this trauma, because I'm gonna call it what it is. This hurt, these scars, emotional scars that we walk around wearing, all the time, and it really just affects us. We carry it. We say that we get over things, we say that we let go of things, but there's an old saying, to see if you really have truly let go of something, see how you react when somebody brings that person's name up,
Come on.
or when you walk past, you come across that person, in person. See how, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, or your blood starts to boil, or the anger starts to just build up, and you just like, no, you
Yes.
have not. It's still there.
Yes. And you know how I know for sure that I have forgiven someone? It's only this one thing. If I can truly pray for that person in sincerity, and I'm not talking about, oh Lord God, just bless them. No, I'm going to pray for them like I'm praying for myself or even for one of my children. That's when
Mm-hmm.
you know the scars are truly healed.
Oh,
When
yes.
you can say, Lord God, bring abundance into their life, whether it be, in terms of love and joy and peace. And what?
Mm-hmm.
That right there is
Absolutely.
what blew my mind. When I really understood forgiveness, like for real,
Mm-hmm.
floored me. Because I remember literally one person comes to mind where I literally hated this person. I
Mm-hmm.
know people say, oh, that's a strong word. No, I hated this person. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even understand why I hated them. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so fast forward, going through the healing process and, stepping out into different avenues of true therapy and healing and really, like you said, calling a thing, because that's where the healing really has to start, is when you address the thing. You stop pretending like it's not a thing. You stop
Mm-hmm.
pretending like it doesn't hurt. And then once I did that and I began going through that process of really uncovering all the pieces to that puzzle, and I got to that place where I was like, "Ooh, child." And but again, having continued, because one of the things I think people don't talk about enough is that the healing process often hurts worse than the trauma.
Ooh.
People don't talk about that. It's a beautiful it hurts. It
Mm-hmm.
hurts like hell. It hurts. And so, all too often, many of us, when it starts to hurt, we stop. Because we like, oh, I'd rather stay where I was. At least I'm familiar with that pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't realize that if we just keep pushing forward, if we keep trudging through, yes, it will hurt, but there will be healing on the other side. And it's necessary.
Absolutely.
It's very much like if you were going through a surgical process. It's going to hurt for them to cut you open and get whatever that has to come out.
Mm-hmm.
That recovery process hurts. That few weeks or months, or depending upon how serious it is, because if you look at
Yeah.
somebody like myself where it was multiple traumas, so you
Mm-hmm.
imagine if you had multiple issues within you that had to be cut out, and whew, baby.
Yeah.
And so when I really think about that, I'm like, man. And so when I got to that place when I could pray for this person, and in fact, I don't think the person saw me, but I saw them recently.
Mm.
And it's been a long time since I saw this person. And I often wondered how I would react, again, like if I came across them. And again, I don't think the person saw me, but again, there was a peace, a calm.
Mm.
And the fact that I could say another prayer for this individual, it really blew my own mind. I was like, Jesus, you a bad boy, because let me tell you something.
Yes.
Like, I wanted this person to die a horrible death, and I was very specific in that prayer. Now, could you imagine praying for someone to die a horrible death? Like, this was my reality.
Wow.
And so to, flip the switch, if you will. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, you can't tell me that Jesus ain't real.
Mm-hmm.
Because for him to come in and heal my broken heart the way he did, and then
Yeah.
we're not even just talking about a broken heart from, a relationship or a dissolved marriage or something of that nature, but I'm talking about from parents who just didn't know how to handle you, from siblings who, just couldn't get right, people that were supposed to love you, that all of a sudden you're like, well, what? How we get here?
Mm-hmm.
You know? But that's why I tell people again all the time, you cannot debate me on this. He's real.
Mm-hmm.
How the song
Right.
go, he's real to me.
Yeah.
I know him all too well. And so I kindly let people know, we can have that conversation if you want to, but I promise you're going to lose every time,
Mm-hmm.
because I know him. I know him. I know his voice. I know everything about him. And just when
Yeah.
I feel like I know him, like for real, he just opened up another notch. He'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, but let me show you how I really do. And boom, boom. Here comes something else. I'm telling you, he bad. He bad. but I'm just grateful for that, and to be able to sit here and even looking at you, knowing some just a pinch of what you've
Mm.
experienced, and knowing like, child, please, nobody would ever know,
Mm-mm.
because his grace and his mercy completely cover you. But the beauty of it though is that you can share that story so that somebody else can be set free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I believe this interaction even was about. The fact that I met you just a couple of weeks ago, had no idea who you were, what you were about, but I just knew that in just a few moments of meeting you, I knew, I was like, oh child, okay, Lord, I see you. I see what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
then to uncover so many similarities in our stories,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
uncover so many similarities in our walk, even in purpose and power,
Mm.
blows my mind every single time. And so, just to see you sitting
Yeah.
here, just greatness be getting greatness, like, come on here, G. My voice go up a few octaves when I get excited. And I obviously love to have fun. So
Yes.
we definitely gonna have some of that. But I definitely want to touch on the fact that you are a new author, and how excited I am for you as a new author, because I remember just a few years ago, when Run Me My Crown was actually birthed, it was because I was finally telling my story, in terms of writing it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And very much like yourself, I was part of an incredible anthology of women who decided enough was enough and that they were going to speak up and speak out about their stories. And so, of course,
Wow.
our project was called Repositioned Crowns. And I was actually chapter 5. Now, anybody who knows me knows how much I love the number 5. Of course, it's the number of grace. It's
Mm.
literally the story of my life. But I was chapter 5, and of course, it was entitled Run Me My Crown. And so that was back in 2017. So, of course, almost 4 years later, here we are with Run Me My Crown Radio, the podcast. Like, don't tell me what the Lord won't do.
Yes. Yes.
But knowing that you have now stepped out and also a part of an anthology called Mosaics,
Mm-hmm.
and you finally get to tell your story. Now, we don't want to tell the whole story because we need people to purchase the book.
Right. Right.
But if you could just touch on a smidgen of, what you're actually sharing, what part of your story are you sharing in Mosaics?
Okay, so the part of the story that I'm sharing, and first of all, Mosaics is titled and it's made from beautifully broken pieces. It's a collection of stories, like you were stating, from multiple women, just 7 phenomenal women. And we all just share, how we've overcome just many life changing traumas, that
Mhm.
really could have been set out to set us crazy, literally, or worse, but how we just overcame that. And so
Yes.
my particular chapter in the story was about losing custody of my son. And so, how it all came to be, and how that something is, just completely ordained by the Lord, is that this project was already in the works when I came into it. Actually, it was supposed to, I believe, come out in maybe like a month or two after I had came aboard. And I don't believe in circumstances and happenstances and all that good stuff. I believe that every single thing is strategically ordained, by
Yes.
God. And so, just in a conversation, with my sister, she just was like, okay, I brought this up to you before, but I'm gonna need you to really get in on this project. And so, it was almost like an epiphany, when the light bulb goes off and you just had that aha moment. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, enough is enough. It's been over 10 years. I've been holding on to this, it's time. And so, for as painful as I knew that it would be, I just said, okay, I gotta just go ahead and get this done. And so I God made a way. When I tell you, I ain't know where out the money was coming from.
Yes.
I didn't know any of it. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. Like, how am I going to pay for this? Bam. It was like paid for. Like, I can't even tell you how I paid for it. Just, it just was paid for,
Come on.
And then when I went to put pen to paper, just being a writer, I want to say a born writer. I've always written, music, stories, poems, a little bit of everything. And so I think it's a bit easier to pen your truth than it is, necessary. Some people are, creative and are able to do, fiction, nonfiction, everywhere in
Mhm.
between. But, I just sat down, I sat down to write, and I really think that the only stumbling block that I had was me just kind of struggling through it. Like, but it wasn't a long drawn out thing. I wasn't dragging my feet. I sat down and wrote that thing and like didn't stop until I was done.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's about just trying to encourage somebody else, trying to help somebody else who either may be going through a custody battle, have been through one, maybe knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that is going through one. And the importance of knowing that custody is not just automatically awarded to the mom, as many of us think, myself included. As I shared in my story, that was not my story. Have never been addicted to drugs, have never been an alcoholic, have never been abusive, to anybody. And I lost still,
Yeah.
yet and still.
Yeah. Listen, you already know, and that's why I truly believe, because like you mentioned, there's no such thing as happenstance or just, coincidence. There's a reason God needed you to meet me. He needed you to see what it looked like on the other side of that loss, that custody battle going the way we had no idea it was going to go. Because
Mhm.
I know I've shared this before, a couple of weeks ago, in fact, when I had my oldest daughter on, but I've of course shared again today with the individuals who might be tuning in today. But that was my story back in 2004. I made the decision to move to Maryland from Philadelphia, and of course, everything that I ever did was right for my children. I'm like, okay, I see a better life for them in the Maryland area. There were some challenges. I wanted to be close enough to get back home because, of course, my
Mhm.
mother was there, their father was there, all that kind of good stuff. But I knew that there was something better, if you will, here for them. And of course, I didn't
Mhm.
know them, but it was all God sending me here. But all that to say, here I start making moves. I have my mom, I talk to her and I'm like, so, do you think you could keep the kids while I, go and make provisions and I'll come back every weekend? And that's what I did. I did that for a couple of months, about 3 to 4 months.
Mhm.
And so my plan was once school got out for my then 9-year-old, that she would then transfer, down here and everything would be everything. Well, it didn't work that way. Somebody decided to tell a story, to literally lie and say that I was an unfit mother, that I abandoned my children. And just like yourself, I've never been addicted to any drugs. In fact, because of the fact that I watched my father's life decline due to heroin addiction, I vowed that I would never. I said, it's no way I
Mhm.
would ever touch any type of drug. And to this day, that holds true. I just refuse. I know people are like, oh, but the herb, it's natural. I don't care. I don't want
Mhm.
it. But yeah, I might have had a drink here and there, let's be
Mhm.
real, but
Yeah.
not nowhere near no type of alcoholism, nothing that would impede my ability to, to take care of my children. But yet,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this judge believed the story of the other folks. And
Mm.
even to this day, even though, it's no longer a sore spot, obviously God has allowed the situation with my daughter to turn completely around, to look at our relationship now. And it's really truly a blessing. And like I mentioned before, my children, the father has since apologized and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm.
so I'm grateful for that. But the reality is, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you just gonna make up stories like this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so
And
that for me was the thing, like, and especially in my situation, like, I was the one that was caring for this child for that
mhm.
9 years, like, consistently. Now, you might have come in and out, and you did what you could do, but if you ain't have it, it didn't bother you. But yet you gonna tell me that I'm unfit?
Mm.
The devil is a lie, a big fat stinking one at that. But again, I truly believe the reason why God allowed you to connect with me is so that you could see what it's going to look like when you are able to reconcile with your son, when you are able to get to a place where that true healing process, because I believe it's going to happen. He's not going to show you a thing to be like, oh yeah, I just wanted to show you. I didn't really want to bring that to pass. No, he showed you
Ooh,
what it's going
child.
to look like on the other side once you're able to reconcile. Once he's able to heal his heart, because I'm sure there's a lot of damage that he has to come through.
Mhm.
You know.
And that's when I became emotional, when we were talking on the interview, and this was supposed to be, I just figured it would be kind of like my book launch when we did, and all the
Mhm.
ladies just kind of answer questions, and we laughed, and we and I made it through, and everybody who knows me knows, oh, I'm a super duper uber crybaby. I mean, like, I cry at the drop of a dime. And when I tell you I made it through that book launch, and I was really okay, I was like, okay, this is okay. And then fast forward to the interview with you guys, and as soon as you came out of your mouth, and like you said, the consistencies is just like, and I really want us to connect, on a deeper level, like outside of this, because there is no way, there is no accidents, and just as you were telling your story, and you started to share, that you and your daughter had gotten back together, and just watching the interviews of you two, and your relationship, it made me feel overwhelmed, because that is what my heart has been yearning for. That is what I've always wanted. And the plot twist of my story is that, about, oh gosh, I don't even think it's been 2 years. So my son somehow, so the last time I saw him, he was about 8 or 9. And
Okay.
of course there are many gaps in the story, and I don't know if I'm going to just come out with a whole tell all, or I really don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of this thing. But since I hadn't seen him in that long, and so somehow him and my mom had connected, and she called me one day, and she was like, I'm in the car with your son.
Wow.
And I'm like, just like this, like, I didn't know what to say. I just got quiet, and she's like, are you there? And he's like, hey ma, like, this man voice comes through, and just everything just came flooding, and I was all over the place, and I didn't know what to say. But fast forward to, um it still didn't work. We tried to reconnect. He actually came and stayed with me.
Mhm.
Now, my husband was with me. We were dating at the time, that all of this went on. And so fast forward to now, we just celebrated a 10-year anniversary. Um,
Yes,
by the grace of God.
congratulations.
Thank you. And he, being my other half, being my biggest supporter, being just my whole world, he's like, listen, that's your son, that's our son, let him come. And so he came and he stayed. And me and my husband's 2 children together, we're trying to figure it all out. It's just moving parts, and they were okay. My son
Mhm.
had my middle child had to share space, and he kind of gave up his space willingly, and everybody was just all excited. And it was in the middle of the whole COVID pandemic. Like, this
Mhm.
was really smack dab in the middle of it. And I'm like, okay, these are the house rules that we have to set down. And I think that really when we go at it again, prayerfully, we will be able to have another opportunity to go at it again. We really need to attend some type of counseling together, because there's just so much, there's so
Yeah.
much that was told to him from the other side. There's
Yeah.
so much hurt, there's so much anger, there's so many questions. And I tried, to answer everything. There were tears, we went through photo albums. Like, I really think that I don't know what he thought. He probably just thought that I abandoned him, and just,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it, not knowing that I was dying 1,000 deaths like every single day up until that moment. And so I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but he just basically couldn't get it together. I'm like, you cannot be ripping and running in and out, like, hanging out and stuff with COVID going on. Like, we're trying to
Yeah.
be safe, we're trying to, and so he lasted a week. I don't even know if it was a week. I think it was like 5 days. We sat down before he came. By
Mm-hmm.
day 2, we sat down again, and by day 5, we were just like, okay, if you can't,
Yeah.
and so he left. And so that's where we left it. And so then I'm having my try not to question God, but I'm like, okay, Lord, in all of this, I have answered my call to ministry in 2018 after running for years. I have, by no stretch of the imagination am I perfect, but I'm like, I have done every single thing that I feel like you have asked me to do. And
Right.
through it all, I still felt like I lose. I'm like, why even have him come back to have him taken away again? And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to kind of get myself together, like, okay, it's really okay. It's just another part of, the journey. And it sucks, I mean, to be quite honest, like, I
Yeah.
still don't understand why. I know that everything is not meant for us to understand, but sis, when I tell you this is
Yeah, it's a
heavy,
process.
I
It is
mean,
a
it's like,
process.
when you thought that you were okay, and then you realize, like, and then something happens, and then you get knocked back to the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, you feel like, it's just like, Lord, I mean, come on, like, why?
Yes, like I heard someone, well, people say the old adage all the time, that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, and I'm like, well, who do you think I am, Lord?
Listen, when I heard you say God got jokes on that one show, I was like, this is true
Listen,
indeed, my sister, because I say it all the time, because he is my father, he is my best friend, and he knows my heart, and we can play like that, and I'll be like, really?
and listen, he and I talk just like that, like bruh,
Right.
and and just even speaking of that, that relationship. When I tell you, I'm not gonna cry today, okay? Because you talk about you a crybaby, you can cry at the drop of a dime, honey. I'll be on this floor. You'll be finishing out this show by yourself. I'll be down here wailing. But and it's amazing because even when I think of that, I was always told that was a weakness and that was, my problem. And the reality is no, it was never a weakness. It was never a problem. That was who God created me to be so that I could have compassion and love and care and concern for others that I feel
Absolutely.
so deeply so that I don't just allow people to fall by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of that though, God has told me many a time, you still need boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I gave you this big loving heart doesn't mean you just go big loving on any and everybody.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that has been the biggest challenge for me because even those who continuously hurt me, whether family, friend, relationship in terms of like a romantic or whatever it might be, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, no, I got to keep trying. No, boo.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's necessary to just literally hands off, stop touching it, take it to God, keep praying about it. He heard you. And then keep doing what it is he's asking you to do. Let him work it
Yeah.
out behind the scenes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I truly don't believe he allowed us to meet. And I know for sure we're going to connect on a deeper level because he not going to just allow this to happen just cause.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my story in that regard with you. And of course, we can go even deeper into some of the intricacies, over those years of how we were able to move forward. And again, it took for me to first heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to heal within. And
Oh
when
yeah.
I started healing, I started to notice that healing, because the same way, if we have disease or trauma or whatever, those things project onto our children,
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
especially just anyone that's really close to you. You might
Mm-hmm.
snap at them, because you're upset or you're in pain of some sort, and a lot of times you don't even realize how that's affecting them.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, our children, they see, they feel, they hear it all.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you, even like when I first moved to Maryland, my youngest daughter was 2. She was turning 3. And of course, she's now 20. Child, how's she 20 and I'm 21? But nonetheless, still trying to figure out this new math. But it's crazy because I remember she would cry so terribly when we would leave Philadelphia. And she would cry for her sister. And when I tell you,
Mm.
that for me broke me so terribly,
Mm-hmm.
because it was enough that my heart was hurting, right? And
Yeah.
that I wanted to bring my oldest baby home with me. But the reality was, she wasn't just my child. She was,
Mm-hmm.
a sister. And this baby, all she knew was that sister.
Yeah.
She has other sisters on her dad's side, but no, like, this was her sister.
Mm-hmm.
This was the one she saw every single day. The one that, as she likes to say, I changed your diapers, girl. But to hear my youngest baby cry out for her sister, when
Mm.
I tell you, it put me in such a broken state that I just was like, I do not understand how I'm going to get through this. Like, there's
Mm.
absolutely no way. I truly didn't believe that there was a way that I was going to get through at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And being realistic, back in 2004, I grew up in church, so I knew who Jesus, was, but I didn't have a true relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We wasn't here. We wasn't buddy buddy. We wasn't, cracking jokes at the house.
Yeah.
Like, we wasn't there yet. And so it honestly, I really believe the way in which this happened, it was the turning point for that relationship to come into evolution, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
that not only was I catapulted into healing some things, but I was also catapulted into, getting into a true relationship, understanding who he is for real,
Mm-hmm.
and truly trusting in him, and not just saying, oh, I trust you. No, I mean, like, really trust you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because when it's time to really trust him, it means literally you can't touch nothing. Often you can't see nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to go anyway. Right. And that
Right.
is uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. Like, I know there have been times
Absolutely.
where I'm like, Lord, now you going too far here now. Like, now hold up. Now, I know I said I trust you and everything, but now see, you doing too much.
Right. Right.
But, he reminds me consistently, listen, about his track record. He ain't never left me, ain't gonna ever leave me.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I trust him, the more, I go out into the deep, the more I really see who he is. And that relationship deepens, just like the sea. You go out into the sea and it gets deeper and deeper. That relationship, that love with him, it truly gets deeper and deeper. And so, I'm just grateful for that. I know, like I said, this wasn't any just because, like, he
Mm-hmm.
got something playing. Now what, I'm gonna let him do his thing. I don't know exactly how it's going, transpire, but
Yeah.
I'm trusting him to bring it to pass. I know he's gonna do it.
And you
I
know what
know.
else is crazy? When you were talking about her father and being in a good place now and stuff like that. And the crazy part about it is that um I don't know that that will ever be, the case in my story. I
Mhm.
know that this person, we were kind of like, it was like a childhood crush type thing. We met when we were around 12 years old or something like that, and we
Mhm.
did like the kitty dating thing. And then broke up because, of course, I mean, you're 12 and 13, like
Right.
ain't nobody got time for that. And so, fast forward to our paths crossing again when I think I was about 17 or 18, getting in a relationship again, having, becoming pregnant, having my son, and then things not working out again by me being the person who left both times. That alone just harbored so much anger and animosity. And so, it was basically like, either you're going to take me back or I'm going to make your life a living hell. And
Mhm.
that's what transpired, after that. And still, even fast forward to this day, my brother ran into this person a couple of months ago, and
Mhm.
he still tried to convince my brother, oh, well, she's not who you guys think she is. Talking to my brother, my whole brother, who's 3 years, older than me, has been in my life, known me my whole life, knows me backwards and forwards.
Right.
And like, she really is this horrible, terrible, awful person. And so I'm just like, wow, like, after all these years, bro, like, our son is now about to be 20 years old, and you still, and that's just, when people say hurt people, and
Mhm.
when people, but I just could not, because I'm such a loving, caring, giving, compassionate, like you were saying, like, I'll
Mhm.
give anybody the shirt off my back, the last cracker in my cabinet, one of my shoes to keep one of your feet warm, and we'll
Yes.
just, whatever. I cannot imagine holding on to that anger. It's like a cancer. Like,
It is.
how do you live and breathe and function that way? I can't wrap my mind around it. And so I pray for him, and you said something that was key, when you can pray for somebody and really mean it. He went through a health scare that I, found out about, and almost died. I
Wow.
prayed like, I don't want to say like I ain't never prayed, but I prayed so hard. I mean, I lay prostrate, like, I mean, snot and cry. And I know, anybody who a stranger would look at me and be like, huh?
Right.
But my thought, what my thought process was? This is who my son has. He doesn't have a relationship with me, even though his relationship has been toxic, over the years, and he went through what he went through with this is his father. I'm
Yeah.
like, Lord, please don't do this to him. And so it was really on the behalf of my son, but I really and truly, cared enough. Like, girl, I ain't scratched the surface about what them people did to me. Do you hear me? Like, if they could have killed me dead, it would have happened,
Mhm.
but I mean, what are you going to do? I can't live my life like that. I can't walk
Right.
around swole up and angry and mean and nasty and hateful and spiteful and vengeful. Like, I just don't even have it in me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it's not productive. It's not going to get any of us anywhere. And the
Yeah.
reality is, as you're continuing to fester that, you got to understand that that's hurting your son.
Hmm.
But I guess,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, some individuals just don't get
They
that.
just can't let,
Um,
they just
and
can't
like
let
I
that
said,
go.
before, like me and her father, like we're cool. Like we can show up in a civil manner for our child. Obviously we don't have any type of like relationship outside of, oh, there's something going on for our daughter. In fact,
Hmm.
he just got married the end of August, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the end of August. He just got married. So, and I mean, I left him in what, 97? So it's been a
Oh,
long
wow.
time. Been a
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
long, long time. Um, but the reality is though, like, even because very much similar to like you, we were high school sweethearts. You know, I was 15, he was 17 when we met. And what's crazy though is that although like we're good, when I do see him at different occasions and stuff, I'm like, bro, are you still back in 1992?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you gonna grow up or we gonna keep,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like, really? And so it challenges me as an individual who, you know, I just really, I love growth. I love, you know, to see individuals truly move forward in life, right? And no doubt he's done some amazing things with his life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I definitely, especially because where he came from, if you can say it that way, he wasn't supposed to do any of the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally and mentally, I'm like, there's a lot of challenges still here that need to, you know, to be addressed.
Yeah.
But again, my name is Geneva. That's my middle name, not Jesus. So I can't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, make a person come to the water and drink it. I can
Right.
only drop those breadcrumbs and say, hey, you know, you might want to, especially because you know that is her father. That they do have a relationship, and that relationship does at some point affect her as well. You know, I see where
Yeah.
often she kind of retreats. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
for instance, even last week, I don't know if you were on at the time, but he called my phone looking for her because she wasn't
Mm-hmm.
answering.
Yeah.
And of course, she'll probably never say it, but she was sick of it. She needed a
Yeah.
minute,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Because when
but
they
you know,
grow, to be adults and are able to, kind of, it's one of those things where us responsible parents, we
mhm.
don't, down talk the other parent to the
Yeah,
child, and we keep our, feelings aside, and all of that kind of good stuff, and do the mature thing, especially when the other party is doing the exact opposite.
right.
But then as they grow and they learn and they see for themselves,
They
and
do.
I'm a person of action. I tell people that I live, I breathe, I walk. Like, you can say what you want to say a million and one times, baby, but it's what you show me,
Yes.
is show and prove with me. And that's for anybody. And,
Yep.
so, they know, and children, and my mom used to always tell me, children are more resilient than we give them credit for. So
Hmm.
although, they go through hurts and pains and stuff like that, they're not going to break. They're not going to crumble into pieces. They're not going to, it's really going to be okay. And so I just had to keep holding on to that. Like, okay, someday, I'll be able to share my truth,
Yes.
with him, and those, around me, my husband and my parents and my brother and everybody will just be able to kind of come together, and kind of let him know like the real. And even still,
Hmm.
when he came, not too long ago, still didn't. I said, listen, there were faults on both ends, because
Yeah.
I own my mistakes. I might not have owned them when I was younger, but I own up to the things that I did. And I feel like that's really important, because I'm
Right.
not going to sit here and be like, oh, your dad is this terrible person. He did ABCXYZ. No, I made some mistakes, and I own that. And I feel like, they'll respect you more when you're truthful and when you're honest and when you don't hold stuff back. So I'm like, I'm an open book. Ask me anything, any questions that you may have, any whatever. And I just spilled. And so, with her, it's kind of like, I'm sure she's to the point where she like, all right, now when you start getting on that stuff, like, just I'm gonna catch up with you later. You
Yes.
don't have to say a word.
It's really funny to witness, but you're absolutely right. You know, I really, you know, I've always been a person who values the truth. Even as a child, I remember my mom always calling me Honest Abe. And she's always said it like it was a bad thing though, right? So like I grew up feeling like a level of shame and guilt because I was always so honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, as I continue to grow in life and I realize the true value of the truth. So
Oh
even
yeah.
in, like you mentioned, in sharing your truth, meaning I'm sharing my faults, I'm sharing the ups, the downs, the hurts, the pains. And I truly believe when I look at my children today at
Mm-hmm.
20 and 25, right? Of course, it started off with me needing to heal from domestic violence and to break that curse so that my children would never have to suffer in that. But I
Mhm.
realized there were so many other pieces to that puzzle, right? There was the teen pregnancy, the single mom, not knowing how to communicate, relationships. There were so many other pieces, right? And so
Mhm.
now that I look at my children, and by far they're not perfect, they're still been children. They've made mistakes, but I give them the grace to do so.
Yeah.
Kind of like how
Yeah.
our Father does for us. It's
Absolutely.
I'm certainly going to share with you, why you may not want to do XYZ.
Mhm.
These are the consequences to doing this, that, and the third. But if you happen to set out and do that thing, I'm right here with my arms open wide to love on you and to bring you back
Yeah.
to life when life hands itself to you, right? And so I
Mhm.
really feel like the beauty of it all is that because I've been able to value that truth and that honesty with my children, especially in sharing my story and sharing it for the real, sharing it saying,
Yeah.
child, listen, this ain't the life you want.
Mhm.
So how about you go this way? Because I'm telling you, that road right there is tore up. It's gonna tear up the car.
Yeah.
You're gonna need an alignment every other day.
Yes.
Your bumper
Them
gonna be
shots,
falling
them
off, your
struts,
tires
they
gonna be
yeah.
busted. Like, sis, you don't want to go down that street.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, they might start veering that way, but they come
Yeah.
on back
Oh
because
yeah.
and I thank God for that because one of the prayers I've always prayed for my children is that they would have nothing missing and nothing broken.
Mhm.
Nothing missing and nothing broken. And I knew that as a single mom, I couldn't give them everything. So whether it was financially, spiritually, emotionally, I could do the best that I could do, but I could never replace their father. I could
Mhm.
never, be everything to everyone because that's not what we were designed for. That's the true
Right.
reason why we need both mother and father, and we need the village around us.
Yeah.
Um, but nonetheless, I thank God for that because even in the things that I lacked, right? He still allowed, godly men to be around. He allowed, people to come in and fill the gaps where I couldn't. And so, I look at them and I'm like, yo, they unstoppable for real. Like they haven't had
Mhm.
to go through a lot of the uncovering and an unpeeling of the onion, if you will, peeling back to heal and then
Mhm.
peel back some more and heal and peel back some more and then heal, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And just the grateful heart that I have to know that they will never have to deal with domestic violence. That alone, I listen, my life is complete to
Yeah.
know that they never have to feel that hurt, that pain, that agony that I've
Mhm.
had to endure, that my mother had to endure, that, many of my older cousins, like I had to watch and hear them being abused by their husbands. Like it was so vicious.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that cycle stops here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And so I'm just grateful for that, being able to
Yeah.
see that truly in motion and to see that, to live to
Mhm.
see it take place, them to have good friends and, even like my oldest has a little relationship now, child, please, what? Like, and I love this gentleman, like he my son. Like I ain't never had no
Aw.
sons, I finally got me a son. But he's a sweetheart and he's everything that I could have ever asked God for my daughter. And I mean that with
Mhm.
like my whole heart. And I'm just so grateful to be able to witness that, because like I said, I never had that.
Mhm.
So I couldn't even tell you what to look for real. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We about to do a contest, win a date with Dewana. Yeah. Shout out to Antoine. He
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
he talking about doing this with access granted the pod stream. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I told him, listen, y'all better vet these gentlemen because I'm telling you, I ain't for the games. I am not for the games. So
I'm sure
stay
he
tuned for
already know
that.
he gonna look. He gonna have to he gonna have to come through
Yes, all
with
the way
some
through. Okay.
yeah.
But of course, every time we go live, I'm always sharing. I'm like, listen, because I'm very single and I'm ready to mingle, but only with the right ones. Like I ain't got time for no
That
foolishness.
part. Yes.
I done did enough of the foolishness. I ain't got time for that in these days. And so,
Hmm.
but like I said, I'm just grateful. Of course, we're up against the hour. Child, do you see how quick a conversation go?
I know. Listen, I know.
But I'm so grateful for this time together. I do want you to let us know how we can connect with you so that we can purchase and support for mosaics.
Oh
Because we
yeah.
definitely want
So
to know more about the beautifully broken pieces.
yes, absolutely. And there truly indeed is something in here for everybody. This is what the cover looks like, y'all.
Yes.
The pretty purple broken pieces coming together. All the authors on the back. You can purchase a copy of my book by visiting my Cash App is Chiara Noble. It's spelled just like how it is on my name popped up there. Also, my social media is Chiara Noble. My Instagram is KeyBaby81, and so is my Twitter. Email is kiara.noble@yahoo.com. So any of those, you can reach out, send me an instant message. However, and I will make sure to get your copy. And my sister slash co-host, Lady J, she's one of the authors in the book as well. And so we did a little something extra special with the book. So you're going to get some goodies and everything with it. And we decided to not just do that at the launch, but to continue to do that. So whether you purchase a book today or 2 years from now, you're going to get that same presentation with all the extras and pretty stuff included. So it's
Well, I can't wait to get
$25.
my autographed copy.
Yes, and they
And
are
how much
autographed.
and how
$25.
much is the book?
They are $25. And yep, they will be autographed. And we have a book signing that we're supposed to be doing. So you guys keep a lookout for that. Our podcast is Victory Talk. We're on Friday nights at 7 p.m. So
Yeah.
you can catch us there. And definitely, look out for some more stuff in the future. I'm all over the place. I paint, I sing, I write, I do, a little bit of it all. So you never know what I might come up with next. I don't know.
Yes, I love it. Listen, he gave you gifts. Go ahead and use them. All of them.
Absolutely.
All of them.
Absolutely.
Well, I definitely want to say thank you, Greatness, for spending this hour with me. It's always a pleasure to see your beautiful face. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. In a deeper way. Every time we get together, it's like more and more gets
More.
revealed. And so I'm just
Yeah.
really excited to be able to hug you in real life. I am vaccinated, so I mean, I'm gonna squeeze you. I'm gonna squeeze you tight.
Okay.
But indeed, I hope we can get together sooner than later. And
Yeah.
again, I do want to thank you for, pouring out on, our listeners, our viewers, whether they were viewing live on Facebook or YouTube today with the stream, or even if they might happen to listen to this, podcast sometime down the line, weeks from here, but they're able to, to be able to relate and that it will meet them where they are and help them to move forward in their journey. And so I'm just grateful. And I just want to say,
Absolutely.
I love you. I love you with my whole heart.
Love you back, and thank you so much for the opportunity. This was a little bit easier than I thought it was going to be. I,
I
I I almost lost it
told
there
you.
for a second, but I pulled it back together, so it's all good.
I appreciate you. I do want to encourage each of you who might be listening, whether in the podcast world or if you're actually listening live on Facebook or YouTube, please visit me at runmemycrown.com. I love you. I can't wait to see you and talk to you again real soon. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Smooches.
Bye, everybody.